Welcome to the MOOCE course on NGOs and Sustainable Development. Today's topic is Ecocriticism, which is a combination of ecology and criticism. Today I am going to take you through a number of slides beginning with ecology, and then we move on to deep ecology, and finally ending with an alternative social order and the 8 elements of human context. So, first we begin with the definitions. Let us look at a few definitions. Ecology is the scientific study of the relation between the organism and the environment. Shallow ecology is a movement which simply promotes conservation strategies against pollution and the depletion of resources. Deep ecology is a movement that promotes ecological wisdom by acknowledging the intrinsic value of all forms of life. The word intrinsic value is of paramount importance in ecocriticism. Last but not the least, ecocriticism is the application of ecological or deep ecological principles on texts, visuals, policies, politico-economic, socio-policies. So, here we need to remember that when we do ecocriticism, we need to look at ecology and deep ecology. We can choose any one of these principles and apply them to some text, ideas, events, politico, social, cultural events. Now, we have the 4 laws of ecology. Barry Commoner, he came up with these 4 laws of ecology. The first of these, everything is connected with everything else. There are a number of departments. Let us say there is the department of ethics, there is a department of economics, and then there is the department of aesthetics. All these 3 departments are in a way connected. We can call them the 3 E's: economics, aesthetics and ethics. Now, each of these departments should not work in isolation, they are in a way interconnected. So, that is the first law, everything is connected to everything else. The second law, everything must go somewhere as ecological consequences. You need to know where your food is coming from, and you need to know where your garbage goes. So, if you know where your food is coming from, which definitely comes from nature, and if you know where your garbage goes, then you will have a better idea of ecocriticism, because an ecocritic is sure of what is happening in nature, culture and the sacred. A third law, nature knows best. We need to surrender ourselves to nature, we need a lot of patience and let nature evolve. But today science is in a hurry, you have a lot of hybridity, genetic engineering, molecular biology, biotechnology, nanotechnology and so on. We are in a hurry to improve nature, and sometimes we fight with nature, and that is one of the reasons why we have this ecological crisis today. An ecocritic, he will ask a very important question. He asks us whether nature dominates or culture dominates. The last, nothing comes from nothing. See, for everything that you get, you need to pay a price. Technology is not an unmixed blessing. The mobile phone is there, it has pluses and minuses, but everybody do not get all the pluses or all the minuses. It is a mix and it is equitable. Some people get all the pluses and some people get all the minuses. So, from ecology we will move over to deep ecology. Deep ecology has a number of principles, there are 8 in number. The most important principle is inherent or intrinsic value. We human beings are anthropocentric. We think that the human being is superior, and that is a problem. An eco-critic says that a human being is just another species on planet Earth. He is not superior to the plants, he is not superior to the animals, he is not superior to anyone. So, that is a very important idea in deep ecology. That is, along with the other creatures, the human being also is on the planet Earth. A related idea is nature as diversity. There are plenty of species. You take any animal, there are a number of species. You take any plant, there are again a number of species. And when you take wheat or rice, there are a number of varieties, but today it has all been reduced to a few varieties. Now, that is the third point that Arne Naess talks about, that is, you can't reduce this diversity except for fulfilling vital needs. So, you are hungry, you can eat, but you can't eliminate a particular species as food. So, that is a very important point, and what Arne Naess says is that the human population is a problem, because in nature there is some kind of a balance. There are lions in the jungle, elephants in the jungle, there are foxes, there are peacocks, there are plants and so on, but the humans seem to outnumber nature. So, that is becoming a problem, and in nature the resources are all limited. The water that we have is constant, the food that we have is constant, we can't increase these. So, the population, according to Arne Naess, is some kind of a problem. He says the flourishing of non-human life requires a decrease in human population. Another important concept in deep ecology is human interference in natural processes should come to an end. We human beings go on interfering with natural processes. The river begins at the mouth and ends in the sea, but what have we human beings done? We have built a large number of dams. Tagore was against the dams, and he wrote a lovely play called Muktadhara, and the Chipko movement, we had Sundarlal Bahuguna fighting against the Tehri dam, but all these people have lost the battles. So, Arne Naess wants a policy change. He wants the governments to go deep ecological. So, when you say deep ecological, the only difference between the other type of ecology is that the other type of ecology is shallow. You look at a plant or you look at an animal and you study the relationship of one animal with the other species. But when it comes to deep ecology, the spiritual element is there. So, as Mahatma Gandhi says, the earth has enough for man's need, but not for man's greed. Two more principles, as you can see, are the quality of life and the obligation of action. Arne Naess says that all governments and all human beings need an ideological change. Now, having a good understanding of ecology and deep ecology, we are going to get into ecocriticism. Now, ecocriticism is ecological criticism, and in Tamil society we had 4 habitable regions and a 5th desertic region. We call them Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam, Neidal and Palai. See, Kurinji is the hills, Palai is the desert, Neidal is the sea, Mullai are the woods, Marudam are the riverine plains. Now, each of these regions, there is different food, there is different culture, there is a different religion. So, according to the Thinai social order, they were all primitive people. So, people in the Kurinji lands, they stayed in the Kurinji lands, not that they wanted to stay in the Kurinji lands, it is because there was no transport at that time and they were comfortable with the lands. So, people in the seashore, they went fishing, and pearl culture and so on. They had their own music, they had their own dance form and so on. There were 6 important principles of Thinai societies. Now, those principles are what eco-critics recommend today. So, one principle is indigenousness. Nothing should come from a foreign country. Whatever you have with you, you can have. But of course, you can have cultural exchange, but otherwise there should be no exports and imports. Another principle is control diversity. See, sometimes fish from the Neithal region may come to the Kurinji land. People in the Kurinji land may eat fish from the Neithal zone. That is all right as long as the diversity is controlled. To give you a simple example, Bharatanatyam, you can mix some foreign elements, but the mixing should be limited. It should not be too much, because if you mix too much, what will happen is Bharatanatyam will disappear. So, that is control diversity. A third related concept is tradition. So, this is where the time element comes into play. So, in tradition what happens is, this generation will have to take the best from the previous generations and pass on the best to future generations. So, whatever is good is transmitted and whatever is bad is eliminated. So, that is tradition. And then you have integration of nature, culture and the sacred. In today's world, we live in a state society where nature is separate from culture and culture is separate from the sacred or religion. On a Sunday you go to the church, or on a Friday you go to the temple or the mosque. So, when you want religion you do these, but when you want culture, maybe you go and watch Ponniyin Selvan on the big screen. So, that is separate. And when you want nature, you go to the garden, or maybe you go to the forest to have a look at it. So, all these three seem to have separated in a state society, but in a Thinai society they were all one. When you want to eat food, eating food may be nature or culture, but the sacred element was also involved. So, when you pluck a reed, you have to mutter a mantra and ask for the forgiveness of the plant. And then you have smallness of scale. Anything that a society does must be done on a small scale, because then it will only do little damage to nature. But when you do it on a large scale, spending billions of dollars, these big projects always create problems, because technological advances are irreversible. Like for example, we came across the atom bomb. Once it has been invented, you can't uninvent it. Almost every other country today has a nuclear bomb. So, what happens is the threat to life is always there. Now, nuclear power cannot be used for peaceful purposes too. Of course, we do have nuclear reactors here giving us a lot of energy, but what happens is, after a number of years, these nuclear reactors will not give us any energy, and the generations to come will have to go on cooling the nuclear reactor, spending a lot of money, resources. So, these are some problems of mega technology which eco-critics are against. The last one and the most important is value orientation. The primitive societies, they had ethics. In whatever they did, there was ethics. They would ask this question whether it is good or bad. And then there was this economics question. Economics question tells us whether it is economic or not. By the way, economics comes from the root word oikos. Oikos, in Tamil we call it thinai. Oikos is a habitat. As habitat, it is nature. And it also means household. As household, it means culture. So, the value orientation as ethics, economics, and it also had aesthetics. Aesthetics is the study of beauty. So, anything that a human being did, handicrafts are beautiful. That is why Mahatma Gandhi was for handicrafts. But of course, the Constitution of India permits mega industries. They do promote handicrafts, but handicrafts cannot compete with mega industries. So, that is a problem. So, a eco-critic will look at ecological principles, deep ecological principles. He has a very good understanding of the alternative social order, and finally, he needs to know the context. In the ancient Tamil text Tolgapiyam, the 8 elements of context are the act itself, agent, product, place, time, instrument, audience and purpose. Let me give you a very simple example. All societies, they love singing and dancing. Now, singing and dancing are the acts. They are human acts, they are cultural acts, they do not do any damage to nature or the sacred. Now, singing and dancing are human acts. Now, there cannot be singing and dancing without the second element, the agent. Singing as the singer as the agent and dancing as dancer as the agent. Now, any act with a singer or a dancer will also produce a product. In singing, you have the song, and in dancing, you have the dance. Two important principles in eco-criticism are place and time. Tolgapia says, Mudallana paduvadu nilamum poludum. In Thirukural, they talk about the importance of place and time. Place, the crocodile is strong in the river and the elephant is strong on the banks of the river. When you look at time, the owl is strong during the night time and the crow is strong during the daytime. And then we move on to the instrument. Any human action will have some instrument. When it comes to singing, the vocal cords. When it comes to dancing, your hand, your face and your feet. So, the medium is always there. The instrument is a medium. Now, there was this Toronto School of Media Studies where Marshall McLuhan gave a lot of importance to the medium. He said the medium is the message. His disciple Neil Postman, he looked at the medium as the message, but he wanted to look at it ecologically. So, what he did was he came up with some 5 principles of media ecology. In the old days, you had the print media, and then we had radio, and then television, and then the internet, and today's media is the mobile phone. Now, all these media are connected. When radio was invented, print media thought that it will die. When television was invented, radio thought that it would die. After the internet came, All the other 3 media thought that they would die. But today we have the mobile phone also, and all the other media are present in the mobile phone. So, none of these media die, they are all ecological. They restructure the social life of society in some way or the other. So, in media ecology, granted that all the media are in a way interconnected, what happens is, the first law according to Neil Postman is that every new medium will have pluses and minuses. That is very simple. In science we do know any new invention will have a plus, but then there will be a minus. You take the mobile phone, the plus is you can communicate with the rest of the world, the minus is you have radiation and so on. The second principle is that the pluses and minuses are not equally distributed. Suppose you have let us say 8 idlis, there are 2 persons, one is fat and the other is thin. One guy requires 6 idlis and the other guy requires 2 idlis. But what happens is, when you divide it equally among the 2, each person gets 4 idlis. So, one is overeating and the other is underfed. So, what Neil Postman says is, these media, they are not equitable. What it does is, a capitalist will have the benefits of the new media, but the worker cannot enjoy all the benefits. One is, the bosses will have high end equipment, whereas the workers may not get high quality equipment, that is one. Another thing is, the boss can use the mobile phone and cancel a worker's leave, whereas the worker cannot call up the boss and tell him, sir, tomorrow I won't come to work. So, it is not equitable. The third idea that Neil Postman talks about is that each medium comes with a powerful idea, which was summarized by Marshall McLuhan as the medium is the message. The landline, the most powerful idea is it eliminated distance. Previously in interpersonal communication, both of us will have to stay in the same place to have a good conversation. With the invention of the telephone, Graham Bell's telephone, we can stay in our homes and still stay connected on the landline. I can talk from my home, so it eliminated distance. So, that was a very powerful idea. And then came the mobile phone. The mobile phone had a very powerful idea, that is, it not only eliminated distance, but it also eliminated location. You can stand anywhere and talk to any person anywhere. You may be in Belfast, but you will tell the world that you are in Washington, and nobody has any means of finding out where you are. Which takes us to a related idea. What Neil Postman says is, technology can do good, it can also do bad, but on the mobile phone the tendency is for us to tell more and more lies. How many truths have we spoken on the mobile phone? Usually the tendency to tell a lie on the landline is not easy, but the tendency to tell a lie on the mobile phone is so very easy, because you do not get to be found out. But the technologies of tomorrow, technologists tell us, will solve the problem. So, that is the third idea, that every new medium comes with a powerful idea. The fourth one is, all media are not separate, they are not isolated. When you look at the mobile phone is a combination of the television, the radio and the print media. The television is a combination of the radio also. So, each medium exists in another medium. So, it is ecological. As in real life you have plants and animals and human beings, in the technological world you have the mobile phones, the radio, the television and the print media, and maybe any other media that you can think of. The last idea, the last principle of media ecology is the naturalization of technology. I was born in the 60s, so I belong to the radio generation. When I was born, there was the radio, so I thought the radio was my elder brother. In the 70s, people, they were born during in the television era in Chennai. So, for them television is nature, whereas the internet is culture. For me, television was culture, because it came to Chennai after I was born, and today we have the mobile generation. So, when a child is born, the parents do have mobile phones. So, the child thinks that the mobile is some kind of an elder brother or elder sister. So, what happens is, when technology becomes naturalized, people cannot go against technology. The ill effects of technology will remain with us. So, that is the problem. So, what Neil Postman suggests is, he comes up with a formula to solve this media ecological problem. He calls it HPLTR. He says H stands for history. So, we need to have a sense of history. The history we are talking about is not world history or Indian history, but our family history. If you have an understanding of family history, you will belong to a good tradition. So, that is there. Another point that he makes is P stands for philosophy. So, we need to have a good understanding of philosophy. Socrates once said, he went to an exhibition and he told the world that there were so many things in that exhibition that he did not need. And as Gandhi said, the earth has enough for man's need, but not for man's greed. The third one is language and literature. All of us, we need to have a good understanding of literature, because the literature is a reflection of the goodness of life. So, you have HPL, T is technology. You need to understand technology so that you can avoid the ill effects of technology. The last one is religion. What he means by religion is transcendence or sacredness. That is, every act that we do must be a sacred act, it is a spiritual act. So, we will be ethical. So, this was his suggestion. I am not sure whether we can use media ecological principles in eco-criticism. Of course, in the 8 elements of the human act, you have the medium, and when you look at the medium, you will have to look at Neil Postman's 5 principles. This HPLTR, I think to some extent can be used by eco-critics in the other departments also. So, I would like to summarize. The topic is eco-criticism, which I told you is a combination of ecology or deep ecology with criticism. So, when you are criticizing, what you are doing is you are analyzing or synthesizing. So, that is exactly what you do. So, you add the 4 principles of ecology and the 8 principles of deep ecology. Combined with this, we add the 6 principles of primitive societies. In Tamil Nadu, we add those Thinai societies. So, each region add its own season, and they add their own culture, they add their nature, and they add their own lifestyle. To understand any political event, economics or social events, you need to know the context. The context had 8 elements. Any action will have these 8 elements. None of these elements are superior to the other elements. You can begin with place. If you belong to the history department, you like to spend a lot of time on concentrating on the dates. If you belong to the geography department, you want to concentrate on place, and if you belong to the media department, you want to concentrate on the medium or instrument. So, eco-criticism must be useful for people in all departments. I have a few questions for you. The first of these questions is, what is eco-criticism? Eco-criticism is the application of ecological or deep ecological principles on texts, visuals, policies, politico-economic, socio-policies. The second question I have for you is, what are the 4 laws of Barry Commoner's ecology? The 4 laws are: everything is connected to everything else, everything must go somewhere, nature knows best and nothing comes from nothing. Thank you.